Hey guys, George Mesa, Third Eye Edify podcast. And right before I started recording this one, I figured I'd get a few images like I usually do. And it didn't feel like things I wanted to flash on the screen for this one. I really just want to speak my mind about a certain topic and see how you guys feel about it. And it's just something that I was thinking about. It came from a question, as it often does. And I was thinking to myself about all the times you see, and thankfully I have not experienced any of this myself, very luckily, but you'll see a huge crowd of armed guards against the populace who could potentially be arguing against something very, very good for humanity. In come police, in come the army. And I'm wondering, what does it take? What does it take for armed, shielded individuals to force a vaccine on someone, as some of the images we've seen? What does it take for them to go against people that clearly have a righteous goal to fight enslavement, taxation, things that make no sense for humanity? When they're raiding Amish farmers for selling raw milk, this is unlawful. And I'm just wondering, how does it happen, right? And the question has been asked many times, of course. Usually in the context of a World War II scenario that I don't feel like mentioning right now, but it's usually, how did they let it happen? Who would convince an entire army to go against their own people? And I think it's a lot clearer now. I have had two amazing stepkids ever since I met my wife. And now I have three of my own kids for 5+ years now. And working in retail as long as I did, thankfully not now, very thankfully, having worked there as long as I did, having been the butt end of pure anger and ridiculous ideas that would never fly in a real normal setting, questions asked that you would never dream, just because the customer always has to be right about things that they're sometimes very, very, very wrong about. I would think to myself, was this person ever a child? Did they ever have the wonder of playing with toys and just being out? And maybe they hadn't. But the more important question to ask is, have they ever felt the true power of being a human being? Have they ever been a parent? It seems like people are having kids later and later in their lives on average. And there's stats to prove that, of course. What the stats are really starting to show is that people are not having kids. A topic I've discussed on this show several times. DINK, double income, no kids. Because why should you let a child ruin your concept of a nice, warm, comfortable life in some tropical place, vacations all the time, doing whatever you want, whenever you want? Hey, you free tonight? You know what? Yes, I am, as a matter of fact. No thought necessary. Need to leave the house immediately? Get up and go. No problem whatsoever. No hesitations, no time wasted. These stressors are crucial to the development of you as a person. We are supposed to raise kids. And I think we're supposed to raise them relatively early in our lives so we get perspective on what everyone else has done already. There needs to be more of us than them, I keep telling myself and my friends and family. As far as you having another kid, like, yeah, we need to start the next generation now to be able to have discussions like the ones that I have for you right here in this camera. the same exact camera I started this show with over 3 years ago. So let's think a little further now. Why are people not having kids? What has happened? What has changed? I could have potentially been one of these people before I met my wife, of course. And well before that, I was calling myself an atheist. And I'm not currently going to Sunday church or anything, but I certainly believe in something of a divine creation here where we live. And I think I've made that very clear again on my show many times. But more importantly, what does that do? It gives you a good reason to just work that cubicle job, to not have any kids. Why bother? Why bring them into this awful, terrible place, right? This is hell. We live in hell. What do you mean you're having a kid? We're going to war tomorrow. What do you mean you're having a kid? Russia's going to take over. What do you mean you're having a kid? Or, of course I'll show up with shields and shoot anyone I see. Of course I'll kill them. No kid? You're not even going to have a second thought about it if trained, if indoctrinated the way that they wanted you to be. Something that is a fairly surface level topic in this book. And I didn't make this book because I wanted to accompany my show with some kind of credential that like, oh, I'm an author too. This isn't about being an author as much as a poet may often say the same thing. I write because I have to. I made a quote. I pseudo copied a somewhat of a line from Martin Luther when I was making the first episode of my music miniseries, which is not over. I've been compelled to do many other things since then. It's been hard to just finish it. I alone am not wise, merely driven to press record. This book, even though Uncle Sam is rearing his head there, covered by a TV, it's not about war. It's about the internal war that is created by the indoctrination. Skillfully, but lackadaisically in a way that is benefiting us all now. Everyone is starting to see. The more I talk to people around me, I see how little people believe the nonsense that most people, if you only follow the internet, you think is very real. There seems to be a reckless abandon nowadays in the youth, driving bikes while doing wheelies straight into traffic just to cause an accident. Who cares if you die? We're just floating around in space anyway. Idiot monkey rock people. Space rock people, right? So there seems to be a growing trend. Or perhaps now there's just a lot of cameras and things haven't really changed much. It's hard to say. But this idea that you are not the most incredible thing, that you are not capable of creating life. You can create life. Hopefully not by accident, but it happens by accident too, doesn't it? And hopefully the parents will agree to then take advantage of the situation and bring a new life into the world and do their best to pass along their knowledge so their kid gets a head start at advancing their own knowledge and becoming the next generation that's needed, the one that's planting seeds, the one that's teaching the old ways of music, energy, art, language, culture, history. A whole nother conversation there. And it's been brought up many times by many people, especially recently. How much of your lineage do you know? What do you know of your ancestors? Most people don't know much. Or they get a few stories about maybe great-grandma, but they're not getting anything beyond that. And there's a very good reason for that. So, what is this episode about? It's basically about how easily, and it didn't take long, did it? How easily the 20th century shaped the culture in the West, at least, to be very reserved about even having kids. And then suddenly we're in this situation where nobody likes each other, apparently. I see it differently, of course. but it seems to be the consensus, doesn't it? Because the news is dead. I don't think people are finding their information there. And if they did, they would think the same thing. But even the alt news is trapped into discussing news. I am recording this August 11th, 2025. Washington, D.C. is going to have army. And that was an announcement today. I'm not going to go into it, but that's not necessarily what even triggered this. I've been thinking about this episode for quite a few days now. And then that happened. And this happens to be my time to record today. So just a coincidence. But there it is. Now, if people are burning down the streets and killing random innocent people, please get the right authorities there to take care of that, of course. This is not about defunding any police. Currently, we need them. What we need them to do is to be on our side. We need them to help us get rid of the actual cockroaches that surround us in government and so on. The people that are enslaving us and forcing us into working 3 or 4 months out of the year for free, essentially, with the income tax and so on. But how much easier do you think it would be to get those people to go against us if they didn't have any kids? I think it would be a lot easier. It'd be far more of a clean slate to clean their brain of any such ideas that would be a bad thing. Humanity? Just do what you're told. Emotions? I'll see you in the morning. Think about it. Having a child is essentially the most important thing you can possibly do. And it's your birthright. It is a gift beyond compare. It is the most powerful thing. And it requires, it can often be the result of love and a union between a man and a woman. It's more than powerful. I would have been flashing images of babies or armies. I don't want to do any of that today. I want this to be old school. And I think it's worth reminding you, thank you, all of you, for being here. I think it's worth reminding you that this video was not created with AI, and it will never be. There aren't going to be jump cuts where I lose one tiny fraction of a millisecond at the end of one of my words just to make sure the next word comes out without me taking a breath. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and it probably will die soon enough, hopefully. Faith. I didn't even realize I had this shirt on, which is funny. But I do have faith that there will be no more of that soon. Because how much longer is my YouTube page going to last? Not long. I'm getting rid of YouTube very soon. I don't want to support Google anymore. If you're watching me on YouTube, I exist in other places. And very soon, I will essentially only exist on my website, where you can support me there. Patreon and Substack, I have supporters there. I won't be giving up on them. But everywhere else, not liking it too much. Not liking it, and I don't want to be supporting Google by having a show. That's not the point of this. The point of this is that news is the news as it used to be. Television, a lot of newspapers, I guess, too. It's dead weight. And I would like to be, I'm not going to be news all the time, barely ever, as a matter of fact. I want to be as provocative and as edifying as possible. My goal is to get you to think, oh, I got to go check that out. What is that he's talking about? I see that. Cool perspective. I'm going to go see it for myself. That's my goal. So an AI will never be part of this or my goal at all. It's old. Anything you're using now is dated and pathetic compared to whatever's available, I'm certain. How much farther are they going, right? I seemed like I was giving the cadence to end this, I know. But how much farther does it go? I get random text messages, very often in a group text, the old school like text messaging. I'm not talking about Telegram or whatever. Text messages in a group of phone numbers that I don't know any of them. None of them are saved. And it says, hey, we're still doing dinner? Or you want to do breakfast in the morning? What is that? My guess, my prediction is no one benefits. It's not going to turn into a scam. It's just a way for your spouse to pick up your phone by accident and see that and say, who is this number that you don't have saved? A potential to end a marriage, a potential to end a family unit. They're just throwing it out there now. I can't be the only one getting these random text messages. So I have a feeling that it's just an attack on the family unit, which will potentially be an entire thing that I'm going to be doing next month. So look forward to much more. Boy, is there a lot going on nowadays, isn't there? And I haven't released an episode in a few weeks, and it feels very strange, and I do apologize deeply for that. It just the way it went. And there's a lot of interesting things happening around here in this household and in this area that I live. New exciting things that aren't just me being a musician. And I will show and reveal those things very soon. And plenty more where that came from, of course. I hope that this was a conversation that you find worth having with somebody else that you love. Share this with somebody if you think you know somebody that needs to hear this, whether they're on one side of the coin or the other. But I released an episode once that said, you are the ultimate instrument, as in musical instrument, and you are. But our greatest power, our superpower, is the ability to create life. Our pathetic, self-titled overlords do their very best to replicate things that the human body already does, and that it's remarkable how futile the concept is. You think a robot can just exist on its own? It's not going to happen. It needs the human touch for at least to charge it up or to create it or to give it information. They're doing their best constantly to replicate what we already do. And they're just dying to be able to create life, aren't they? And it's probably not working out too well for them. Thankfully. Keep your power. Use it. Don't second guess it. Yeah, it's time to have a kid if you've been thinking about it. Go for it. I promote having kids. Not for any particular reason. Of course it's amazing. And if you haven't, you can't predict what it's like. You can hear all the stories you'd like from all your aunts and uncles and parents and whatever. Friends, family, whatever. It's not going to give you the full picture ever. And a lot of people think they do. It seems that way anyway. A lot of people think they do know what it's like. And yet they do things against their neighbors, friends, and family that would totally not corroborate that story. So having kids is the most important thing for society in general, for humanity. The perspective of being a parent is required for all of us to see truth. Thanks, guys. Looking forward to recording the next one, and I'll see you next time.